My name is Garry Richardson, class of '76 at Texas A&M. I was an Ag Eco major. After graduation, I worked briefly for Shell Oil Company in the Ship Channel, and then went to work at a grain elevator in the Panhandle. Worked up there for a few years, then in South Texas, managed in a co-op, worked in a local co-op in the production ag side, ran some cattle, then got invited to join a seed company. And then I spent several years as a district sales manager in South Texas, selling planting seed, corn, sorghum, sudan, cotton. Then had the opportunity to go into international agriculture, moved to Ohio and became a vice president of one of the international divisions within agrigenetics, and worked there for quite a few years, and then spent time, a lot of time in Asia, other parts of Western Asia and India, managed operations in several subsidiaries in France, Italy, Argentina, and a joint venture in India. Company was acquired, moved to California, and at that point they had less emphasis on international, and so I started my own company, and involved in agricultural germplasm, primarily corn, sunflowers, and worked with the joint venture in India, developing that, and then merged that into a biotech company in early 2000s, and then blossomed that into a pretty large company with doing several areas of genetic engineering in plants, and then sort of a casualty of the lack of funding in the after 2001, and so I had the opportunity to move back to Texas in 2002, and so I did so, and have a startup company, or did a startup company in a working on drugs, cancer drugs that were sourced from plants. So, and recently been doing some work in California on canola, developing a canola program for non-genetically modified oils. While I was at A&M, I entered in the fall of 1972. It was an interesting time. I had just turned 18 in the summer, and I went 1A in my draft card, and so I had always intended to be in the military and have a military career, and so I was obviously part of the Corps Cadets. And I was an accounting major when I started, and I was actually here for about a year when I realized that they required me to study to stay involved to be a student, because I primarily was here to be in the Corps and get a military commission and then move on. But so I had a long discussion with the dean in the College of Business in the middle of my sophomore semester, and I had a great opportunity then to move into the College of Agriculture, and I did so purely by the grace of Dr. Potts, who allowed me to change my major to Ag Eco and stay in school. I'd been invited to attend another institution, or at least look for another one, but Dr. Potts resurrected my A&M academic career, and so I actually never missed a beat. I returned in the spring of '73, and then completed my degree in Ag Eco within the 4 years, and primarily participated in the Corps Cadets. And after being able to stay in school on scholastic probation as long as I was able to, I was a scholastic sergeant, scholastic officer in my outfit. Was a member of Parsons Mounted Cavalry in the second year it was reenacted or brought to campus, and was a member of the recon platoon. I had a Marine Corps contract under the PLCA program, and then actually at the end of my junior year, I, along with my fiance at the time, determined that it was probably best if I stayed in agriculture and did not pursue a military career. Vietnam had been officially ended, at least over in '73 in January, so I did that. I did not then engage in my military contractor career, and decided to pursue agriculture. When I graduated from A&M, I had a directive from my father, who was also an Aggie class of 1953, but it was if I got married, flunked out, or well, I don't remember the other one. There were three things, but I didn't do any of them. So, or graduated, then I was on my own. And so after graduation, I actually I went to final review in the morning on May the 8th of 1976. I graduated in the morning, I went to final review in the afternoon, and I got married that evening in All Faiths Chapel. So I had a busy day. Needed to get a job, and so I actually, at the time in agriculture, there were very limited jobs, and so instead of being a grain inspector in the port, I decided to take a job with Shell and worked for 2.5, 3 months as an operator in the Shell chemical facility until I got a job up in the Panhandle. And then went up there as an assistant elevator manager and worked in, I learned the grain business from the boot pit to the elevator to the grain storage, and then did a lot of custom application of fertilizer and chemical. But I was intent on pursuing my career in agriculture, and so I worked my way through in some of the earlier, some of the regular kinds of work you wouldn't learn unless you were doing it. So that's primarily the opportunities I had that, and then worked in a co-op in the late 70s in South Texas, and was involved in more cow-calf operation in agriculture, ran some managed cattle for other people, and then had my own at the time as well. I would tell students in agricultural economics now that agriculture is, especially the ag business, is an ever-changing field. There are so many things that are available to do, and agriculture touches all of them. And I certainly have a bias towards international. There's a lot of things that we can do and take what we know and what we learn in agriculture, and especially economics here at A&M, and be ambassadors around the world. In the seed business, the motto of the American Seed Trade Association is called "First the Seed." And so there are three things that are common to all cultures, and food being one of them, health, and a place to live. And so you've got to have food in order to have a place to live, and you have to have food to have health. And so agriculture is a fundamentally necessary part of life. And so as Ag-Eco graduates from A&M, a well-respected ag background, and certainly pursuing that career, and again an international aspect, is I would encourage them to pursue study abroad if that opportunity presents itself, or at least have some international opportunity or experience while they're a student here, and certainly do what I didn't do in terms of getting to know professors well, so they know you. And those are a couple of things that I actively suggest to students now. Managing time and priorities is tough, and I think early career as trying to get involved and learn and advance in a career and juggling that and children and spouse and job is a tough one. I don't think I did the best at all times. I know because of the business that I was in, it was not uncommon for me to work late hours. In agriculture, sort of from daylight to sundown, so it's an all-day affair. And then when I was traveling overseas a lot, it always seemed that there were meetings around Memorial Day, so I missed the Memorial Day holidays virtually every year for probably 10 years. My son's birthday is in September, and usually I was involved in a harvest or looking at harvest somewhere around the world during that time period, so I missed a lot of his birthdays. But kids grew up only once, and I've been fortunate enough to be married for since May the 8th of 1976, so over 38 years now. And I must have juggled it at some level correctly because she's managed to stay with me, but family and job come after, I guess, the God and the grace of God, and so we have to keep all of it in a priority. And one of the challenges I had early was doing that. And so I guess as we get older, we get wiser, and we learn to be able to tell people to do what we suggest, not what we did. So that's a struggle, and I encourage my own kids to be aware of it. Maybe being aware is probably half the battle. To be successful, first we need to define success. So I think if it's successful in business and being generating wealth or generating a product, that's one thing. Some would say success is just being here every day and waking up in the morning and knowing you're alive and you get to do things, as participating in being selected for this. Some of the other things that I've been able to do after coming back to Texas and being back around A&M and being able to contribute to the education that did what it did for me. But success is really what we make success. And so I've seen people that are really happy and successful in a small business that generates enough to keep them alive and going and be happy and focus on family. But success takes perseverance, it takes a plan, it takes knowing where you really want to go and then making sure that's what you want to do, and then being flexible enough over time to adjust your plan. I think certainly in research, a lot of discovery and a lot of things happen in the path to a certain goal, but then being flexible enough to modify the goal or refocus your effort if you see another opportunity is also critical. So being open-minded, being perseverant and steady, going after it, but being flexible enough to know if another opportunity comes, you take it and you move on. I was quite surprised about being selected. I feel very honored. Again, I was not the best of students coming through A&M. Only in retrospect did I realize the value of everything that I was here and the opportunity to do, and didn't take advantage of it. And so, I mean, to the fullest extent. I certainly have recognized a lot of that afterwards when you look back, and so I'm one of those that tries to give something back, and certainly my time and some treasure to help others in the institution, and certainly the college, and have been active with the College of Agriculture and the department at some level, and the university with involvement on the international board. But it's quite an honor for me, and I'm humbled by reading the names of the others that have been selected. I know several of them myself and have worked with them in some of the things I've been doing. So it's quite an honor for me.